Okay, this video we're going to talk about exponents and solving expressions with exponents. On your notes you have the exponent or the number 2 to the 5th power, and we need to clarify what exactly the 2 and the 5 and the whole situation is called. The large number 2, the 2 is the base, and the little number 5 is the exponent. And this whole thing is called a power. Okay, so when something is to, let's see, x to the 2nd power, we call that x squared. If we have x to the 3rd power, we call that x cubed. If we have x to the 4th power, we just say x to the 4th power. It doesn't have another name. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do we write numbers with exponents. And if you see in your first example, you have 3 times 3 times 5 times 5 times 5. So if I told you to write this expression using exponents, well, you would see that there are 2 3's that are multiplied together. So I have 3 to the 2nd power, and I have 3 5's, and I would say times 5 to the 3rd power. Or I could say 3 squared times 5 cubed. Okay? Let's look at the next example. I have 4 times x times y. How would I write that with exponents? Well, there's 2 4's, so 4 squared times x squared times y. So in other words, I have 4 squared x squared y. I have those right next to each other, so I don't need to put any multiplication symbol in between it. How about the third one? In the third example, I have 9 times a times a times a times b times b. Well, this one's going to be 9 squared a to the 4th power b squared. Okay, so now we have to be careful when we're working with expressions, because we have to understand what's being multiplied. What is the base that's being multiplied? So in this expression I have negative 5 in parentheses to the 4th power, and then my other expression I have the opposite of 5 to the 4th power. So what I need to ask you is, in each expression here, what is the base? Well, in this expression, because I have parentheses around it, the negative 5 is the base. But in this expression, only the 5 is the base. There are no parentheses to include the negative sign. Okay? So if I write this out, if I write this expression out with negative 5 as the base, I have negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. And then I would solve that. If I write this other expression with the base of 5, all I'm saying is take the opposite of whatever 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is. Okay? So notice what's different in these two expressions. It's the parentheses, and that will trip some of you up. You have to recognize what the base is that's being multiplied by the exponent. Okay? So this base is negative 5 multiplied by itself 4 times, and this base is only 5, and this little symbol right here says take the opposite. So once I take 5 to the 5th power, or 4th power, sorry, then I would take the opposite of whatever that number is. So that answer would be a negative answer. Okay, so now let's do one more example. For this first expression, the opposite of 3 to the 4th power, what is the base? Okay, the base is 3. How would I write that expression written out? I would write it as take the opposite of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? And the second expression, what is the base? The base is negative 3, And I'm going to take that base times itself 4 times. So negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Okay? So this answer, I'm going to do 3 times 3, and 3 times 3, I'm going to get 9 times 9, I'm going to get 81, and it says take the opposite, so my answer is negative 81. This expression, I'm going to take negative 3 times negative 3 and get 9. And I'm going to take negative 3 times negative 3 and get 9. I'm going to multiply those together and get a positive 81. Okay, let's try solving some expressions now with exponents. Remember, we're going to follow order of operations. We're going to do what's in parentheses first, then we'll do exponents, multiply, divide left to right, and then add, subtract left to right. Well, in my first expression, I have parentheses, so I need to solve what's in the parentheses first. So I'm going to rewrite 26 minus, and 2 times 5 is 10. Notice that I'm going to keep that in the parentheses because I have an exponent, and I'm going to put that exponent on outside the right parenthesis. Now I go back and I think, well, what's 10 squared? So I have 26 minus 100 because 10 squared is 100. And now I'm just down to, I just need to do my subtraction, and I end up with a negative 74 for my answer. Okay? Let's try the next expression. Let's do the second one. The second one says I have negative 4 plus 6 times 3 squared. Okay? Well, there's no parentheses in this one, but I do have an exponent. So I'm going to go ahead and do my exponent. So I rewrite my expression, negative 4 plus 6 times 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. Now I'm going to follow order of operations. I have to do this step next, so I'm going to take negative 4 plus 6 times 9, which is 54. And now I just need to solve negative 4 plus 54, and that's going to be a positive 50. Okay? Okay, last expression. This time, remember, we needed to watch parentheses. My base in this expression is negative 3. So I'm going to have negative 3 times itself 2 times because it's negative 3 squared. Okay? And then I'll bring down the rest of my expression. So I'm going to multiply negative 3 times negative 3 and get 9. I'm going to multiply 12 times 4 and get 48. And then I'm going to add those two together, and I get 57. Be careful with your negative numbers squared. You have to watch and see if they're in parentheses or not. Okay, you have 3 got it problems on your notes. Go ahead and solve those. Notice that you need to replace the x in the expression with the number 2. That's in the directions. Go ahead and rewrite those expressions then, and then solve to get your answer. And then I need you to look at the last problem. It says explain why 3 to the 4th power is not equal to 4 to the 3rd power. And see if you can explain that to me in complete sentences and show me an explanation using math. Okay? All right, we'll talk about these problems tomorrow.